don't know if he's pulling something. Hello, I'm John, and I'm here with
I'm Brandon.
Brandon. We got a little bit of comments from our early August rankings of fantasy football players. People basically asking if we're going to do a follow-up when it gets close to the draft. So we decided to do one. This one will probably be a lot shorter than our first one. If you want a full analytical thing, analysis, I guess, on the players, look at our first one, which we go into more depth. This one is going to be more updates. We both have started. We're in the midst, actually, of 2 fantasy leagues right now. One started on Friday and one started yesterday. And that's like the first 2 of about 5 or 6 that we're doing or more. So we'd like to thank you for dropping in. And I guess give a quick hello to who's in the chat, Brandon. And just so you didn't know, this is J&N Travels Sports Edition, which me and Brandon do on occasion. So hello to Janice Gregory. Thank you very much for coming in. And Paul Vines, thank you for popping in. And one of our moderators, Gabby Christian. Thank you, folks, for coming in. And anyone that's watching this on replay, thank you for watching. So I guess we'll go right into it, Brandon. And let's bring up the same spreadsheet we used last time, but it will be updated. Okay. All right, so why don't we start, Brandon, with our quarterbacks.
Let's do it.
So let's see here. All right, so on the left, you got my picks back in 8-1, and now my modifications on 8-29, and on the right, you have Brandon's on 8-1, and then updated on 8-29. So I guess we'll start with mine. Basically, the first 5 slots stayed the same. We talked about the quarterbacks and why they're in those slots, so we won't go into those details. If you notice, I had Deshaun Watson up very high. You never had him on there. And even though there are rumors of him going to Miami, doesn't look like he's going to get much out of him, right? He hasn't played at all.
It doesn't look good, and that's why I never had him on my list. I just didn't think, even if things in Houston looked kind of bright for him, I just didn't think with the legal accusations and everything that he would he'd be playing. So it makes sense why you have him kind of moving out of there.
He'd be a great pick towards the end of these drafts if it's a protective league, but
sleeper, for sure too, yeah.
But for ones where you can't protect players, it's really not that handy. So I have it going then. Watson, the ones in green are where a player completely is new to my list or has been kicked off my list. So Watson's off my list, and we go down Brady, still Wilson, Jackson. They're all in there. Prescott, for me, raised a couple slots because they're acting like he's healthy now and he's out there playing. So
that's interesting. Yeah,
you got to kind of go give him a little bit more. Burrows, Tannehill, Stafford, and what I added, I get rid of Carr, and I raised Burrow. Actually, he went from my 14th up to my 10th. He's been having a good preseason. I think he's going to have a good year. And I've exited Carr and Watson and brought Justin Fields, who's having a very good, at least his exhibition games looking really good. I think it's not going to be long before he starts taking over the reins there. And Jalen Hurts, who's looking good. So those 2 finally made it to my list. I really wanted to get rid of Trevor Lawrence, but he hasn't had the greatest spring, and he also, I don't think with that team he's going to have a great year, but he's got such an upside that you almost have to reach for him. So I stuck him in my 15th pick. So now we go over the yours. Go ahead.
So it's interesting. It's funny. You had a few guys moving up that I actually had moving down. So before we get there, Mahomes, Allen, Murray, Jackson kind of stay the same. I was a little down early on Rodgers just because not entirely sure what was going to happen with the situation in Green Bay. That seems like it's worked out. He seems like he's pretty happy. He kind of got his way. You have Randall Cobb coming to town, his old friend. So have Aaron Rodgers moving up a little bit. And if you have somebody moving up, then somebody's going to obviously kind of come down. And Dak Prescott's actually that guy. I'm a little concerned about, what they're saying about that arm. I think, if he is healthy, he's going to have a great year. I'm not fully sold that he is truly, healthy. And I think that could potentially, could drop a little bit. I also do think with that offensive line, they're going to try to kind of pound the ball a little bit more with Ezekiel Elliott and even Tony Pollard. So he dropped down a little bit. Stafford stayed the same. Tannehill stayed the same. Jalen Hurts stayed the same. Tom Brady stayed the same. And then got a little flip flop. Essentially, I had Matt Ryan moving up a little bit, and Joe Burrow kind of dropping just one spot. And I don't think he's looked too sharp. And he actually made a comment about he's kind of trying to learn this all over again. He's still a little shaky with confidence after that injury, which was a really nasty injury. And so I have him dropping, and then Trevor Lawrence staying the same.
Yeah, and actually Prescott, the number 8 slots, no disrespect there for him either. Really, it's not a bad spot.
No, still, yeah, oh, absolutely, yeah. And he could be a sleeper if he is healthy, and he's that 8th or 9th quarterback coming off. That's good value.
Right. Okay. Those are our quarterbacks. Let me just take a quick peek over here at the chat. Welcome in the Jumbo Round. Thank you for coming in. And I am Shishu. Thank you very much for coming in. For anyone who's popped in here thinking they were going to see Nancy and I doing some live show, every other Sunday Nancy works, and Brandon's been popping in with me and we do a sports show. So
you can call me Nelly. I'll be Nelly.
Nelly? Okay. All right, so for our next one, it's running backs. I guess we'll do this the same way. Well, why don't you start? We'll do the reverse. You go with the running backs.
Sure, yeah. And so, I think Christian McCaffrey kind of is the sure number one. I actually, I was very high on Saquon Barkley, even coming off that injury. However, it sounds like that the Giants are going to kind of manage his workload and kind of ease him into it. So, I did just recently draft Saquon Barkley in one of our leagues. However, I do think that he's going to kind of, he's not at that number 2 level, just with the managed workload. So he drops down to number 8. And with that being said, everybody kind of shifts up a little bit. I have Dalvin Cook shifting up. I have Alvin Kamara shifting up. Derrick Henry and Derrick Henry, Ezekiel Elliott, Austin Eckler shifting up, and then Nick Chubb as well too. And so that's kind of really the only difference there is Barkley moves out of 2, moves to 8, and everybody kind of just shifts on up. Everybody else hasn't really shown me any reason to be concerned, or in preseason hasn't really shown me any really concerns. And so everything else kind of stays the same with Jonathan Taylor, Antonio Gibson, Aaron Jones. I do have J.K. Dobbins in there, and he actually had moved up and just recently, actually last night, sounds like he potentially tore his ACL. So, if that's the case, or even if that's not the case, he's moving out of the top 15 for sure. And what I would probably do is I'd move Mixon and DeAndre Swift and Najee Harris up a slot. And then what I would do is then I would probably add Robinson from probably add Robinson from the Jaguars. That's probably where I'd go with Travis Etienne. Sounds like out for the season with a foot injury. I would say Robinson probably moves in there, and you could maybe argue maybe Josh Jacobs as well too, but I'd probably say Robinson.
Okay, so you're going with Robinson. We'll do that. We'll do that right on the fly here.
Perfect. I like it.
We were just talking about that. This is a less than 24-hour injury. From what I understand, he could be out all year.
That's what it sounds like, yeah.
Okay, so not a lot of changes, just a little bit of shifting.
Yeah.
Looking at mine, basically the top 4 are the same. I moved Elliott up. That's the big change in and I put Mixon down a little bit. I'm high on him. I've actually drafted him in 2 fantasy leagues already. So as you can see, I'm high on him. Barkley, I like. Have him in the middle. He'd be much higher if it wasn't for the injury factor. Carson, I'm very high on. People are afraid he won't last a year. I like him a lot. Gibson, they're talking about him getting a very heavy load this year, so we'll see if that pans out.
That's true. And when we talked about him last time, where you thought I was a little high on him, but it sounds like you've come around, and now you have him one after where I have him. So yeah, so.
They've been talking the last couple of days. I've read they've been talking about the workload that was going to be put on him. So I think, well, anyone that gets that many carries. Harris, I love. Harris would be higher if it wasn't for Pittsburgh's defensive line.
Oh, that offensive line is atrocious.
Let's see, what do you have? Yeah, you have down here too, probably for the same reason, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's very generous with that offensive line.
Chubb, who's been high on everyone's list, is always low on my list. I love Hunt.
Yeah.
And I just think that Hunt takes away too many touches from him. And the two new ones, I dropped Edwards and I dropped Montgomery. Like them both. But they don't make my top 15 only because I thought Eckler is going to get the brunt of the action over there in L.A. And Jacobs, he's had 2 good years. Is this third year or second year?
It's his third year.
Third year, yeah. He's had 2 good years, and I just think maybe he's going to take it a notch higher. So I just thought these 2 players took over the slots of the toy dump.
Sure. Yeah.
So that's the running backs.
Yeah, that all looks pretty good. I mean, I hope Josh Jacobs has a big year. I've had him in one of my keeper leagues, so.
Yeah, that's the thing. We're always hoping for those guys we're protecting. Receivers, I guess I'll start on these. So my big change is up top, as you can see, Adams, Hill, Ridley, Diggs, Hopkins. None of these guys really are changing. I still think they're.
Well, it looks like you move Ridley up a couple slots, yeah.
Yeah, Ridley. Yeah, definitely. I didn't have him up there because of I just didn't think he was a number 1 receiver with that he'd have to carry that burden right now. But the more I read, the more I look at, he seems to be able to at least carry for a while. So we're going to go with that.
Any concerns with him never being the number 1?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. And that's why maybe 3's a little high, but the only thing I would do there is maybe would I have my originally? I'd have him down at 5. Yeah. I moved right back there again. Jefferson, I moved way down because of injury. Allen, Robinson, Brown, Love, Metcalf, Thielen, and this is a new one to my. So I dumped. So I dumped Julio, and I dumped. I don't know. I just think he's not going to be the Julio of old. Basically, his numbers are going to go down. Plus, they have more receivers over there. Thomas, injury. And Cooks, is it injury or COVID thing he's in? But he's out too.
I think COVID. I think, but that's pretty aggressively high for Brandon Cooks. I think, but
yeah. Well, if you notice here, he's gone now, right. And so is Thomas. Yeah. So Lamb, I think maybe I have Lamb a little too high, but I did have liked what I've seen and read about him. Of course, we all know about Evans. Jefferson is only there because of injury factors, and this is a new guy to my mix.
Scary Terry.
Yeah. Just seems like he's going to have a breakout year, a bigger year this year.
Yeah.
And then Woods I have on the bottom. I don't like Woods. I wouldn't have him here. He's another one of those guys like Chubbs that just never been on my radar.
Okay.
But because of his numbers, you got to kind of sneak him in here a little. Over on your side.
Yeah, I must say your daughter is pretty high on Brandon Cooks as well. So I'm wondering if maybe it
really
came from you. No. So I must have been watching and saw that originally on this first list that he was that ranked that high.
I do like Brandon Cooks. I still like Brandon Cooks. I just don't have the numbers here. Why these won't lie. So go ahead.
That's all right. So not a ton of change in my wide receiver rankings. Tyreek stays the same. Devontae and DeAndre stay the same, as well as Stephon Diggs and Calvin Ridley. DK Metcalf and Keenan Allen stay the same. Justin Jefferson stay the same. Scary Terry, AJ Brown stay the same. And this is where it just changes a little bit. I'm actually a lot higher on Robert Woods than you are. I think Matt Stafford kind of elevates Robert Woods' play, and I think Robert Woods is a PPR kind of machine. He gets plenty of targets and does a lot with those targets. So I have him, Robert Woods jumping, Allen Robinson falling down one slot, I got Mike Evans actually sneaking into into the top 15 here. I have an interesting question for you. Actually, I'll ask you after this. But so I got Mike Evans sneaking in, meaning Julio kind of slides down one, and CeeDee Lamb actually slides to 15. I had him a little higher. I had him at 13. Amari Cooper falls out, but the reason is again, kind of like what I talked about with Dak Prescott and the injury. It just doesn't sound good. I think it's just going to affect that wide receiving core a little bit, and so I think CD doesn't completely, stay where at that 13 spot. He just drops a few spots, and then, like I said, Amari jumps out of the top 15. My question too is, I thought this was an interesting question. Out of the Tampa Bay wide receiver crew with Antonio Brown, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, who has the most fantasy points at the end of the year? Who do you think?
I lean towards Evans because of the pass, but I think it's going to be Godwin. Even though Brown is going to surprise the heck out of you. He's going to go low in a lot of leagues, and I think he's going to put up some good numbers this year. But I think it's Godwin going to be the overall one. Just maybe the age factor. He's a lot younger, right?
Younger,
Evans,
yep. I thought Godwin would be bigger than he was last year. I thought I drafted him pretty high in a few leagues, and he had an injury at one point with his finger and whatnot. But he just didn't really perform where I thought he would. So
which one do you take first, Evans or Godwin?
I mean, I would take Evans just because I think he's a sure thing and plenty of red zone targets. But I do think Godwin could potentially. Maybe, yeah, I'll still go Mike Evans, but Godwin's going to be close, I think, fantasy point wise.
Oh, we get Blaine just popped in. He's sitting at the Springfield, Missouri airport. I thought you were going to stay longer than that. They had a big meetup over in Missouri, Branson, Missouri, a bunch of YouTubers, and he's just flying back from that. We're actually in the league with him next weekend, I think.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
I think I'm pretty sure he's in that league. Okay, so we move on to tight ends. You want to start here?
Sure. I don't think there's too much of really a change at all. If I'm looking at the tight ends, I think actually everything stayed the same. One concern I have is Evan Ingram. Talent there. I just don't trust Daniel Jones that much. So Evan Ingram at 10 kind of gives me a little bit of a scare, but everything stayed the same for me. I don't think anything has really happened there's been no really injury, or there hasn't really been anybody that's really stood out or kind of fallen off in the preseason. So I think it's just, for me, kind of stays the same. I'm going to steal your thunder a little bit. I see Noah Fant jumping up there a little bit for you. I think that's a good call. Teddy Bridgewater getting that starting spot. I think he'll kind of rely on Noah Fant quite a bit. So maybe I potentially would replace Evan Ingram with Noah Fant. But Evan Ingram's just talent is too good to not be in the top 10. So.
Okay, yeah, like you said, there's not a huge movement. Most of my movement happened. Let's see, I think we got to go. Well, I did move Pitts up. I just think this guy's going to have a monster year. But your top 5 are basically the same. Where I did it is I dumped Smith, and I picked up Font, who I think I was real high on him when he came out as a rookie, and he hasn't panned out yet. No. And I still look at him as hoping to get him in low rounds in as many leagues as I can, but who knows? And then you don't have Gesicki, right?
No, I don't have Mike Gesicki in mind. Everything you read is a lot of upside. I just haven't seen it, so I'm not fully on that kind of that bandwagon quite yet until I fully see it. It's kind of, you're drafting on upside there.
He's on the Fant train, in my opinion. He's kind of, I look at those two as the same type of thing. The guys who I think are going to do good and I like, but they haven't panned out quite yet.
Yep. No, I agree with that.
Okay. So we slide down to check. Okay. Slide down the kickers. He's not much a lot of hoopla here, is there?
No, I now that I'm looking at this, I think Will Lutz has a little bit of an injury, the Saints kicker. So I would probably move him out of there and probably replace him with maybe Tyler Bass from Buffalo. So just an on-air adjustment there. But I think everything kind of stays the same. Just again, you're probably not going to have a kicker really good besides Will Lutz, I guess, get hurt in preseason. They're in training camp, so I think the kickers are probably going to kind of stay the same. But
and a lot of times you have the new guy that's getting a lot of the kicks anyways because they know what the other one can do.
Right, yeah.
Kicking is an unusual thing. You really don't have to have the game situation. Even like you have to pretend if a guy can kick accurately, you're going to see it.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I kind of like fantasy football leagues without the kicker. Have you played any of those leagues at all?
I've done ones with punters and without, but never one without a kicker.
Okay, I kind of like it just because I feel like the kicker just doesn't really add much. Until you have a kicker that kicks 350 yarders, and next thing you know, they have 15 points or whatnot.
That's right.
Yeah.
So you're giving them the same respect they get from their teammates.
Yeah, that's exactly. That's right. Exactly. That's right.
My foresight was there. I had Bass. I upgraded Bass to second from third, but basically it's the same ones. Taka, Koo, same five, just reverse them a little bit. I just think Buffalo is going to have a big year scoring wise, and that's why Bass moved up.
Yeah, that makes complete sense too. My only concern is kicking outdoors in Buffalo, weather-wise, but who knows?
It's funny you said that because I haven't really done that this year. But in the past, I usually look at my punter and my kicker. And if they're in the Dome Stadium or a warm weather place, they're going to play at least half their game.
Yeah, right. Yep.
They have a lot more. And Buffalo was one I would traditionally not pick.
Yeah.
Either position, just that reason.
Shows you how much respect you have for that offense.
I guess.
Or Tyler Bass.
Yeah. Or maybe a combination of both.
That's right.
Defenses. Okay, I guess I'll go first on this one here. Looks like I basically got the same defense all the way through. Nothing really has changed for me. I haven't seen anything. You don't see your starters. It's hard to when you're doing an overall thing because I'm not doing individual players. So mine stays the same. No big changes there. And over in your side,
so I got one big change is I've openly said I'm a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, and I expect that they're going to have a solid defense. However, they have, they haven't looked as sharp as you'd hope. Kind of like you said, you got rotating doors and you got some starters, some non-starters in there and whatnot. But I just don't think they've looked as sharp. So they dropped to number 4, and that's really the only change is they dropped to 4, and then kind of Tampa Bay actually moves up from 5 to 3. And so I just have a lot of respect for that Tampa Bay defense. You saw what they did in the Super Bowl against Patrick Mahomes. I think they're just kind of going to carry over from that. And they, they signed everybody that was a free agent that was, had a chance of leaving and was a free agent. So I think they'll be solid. So Steelers drop down a little bit and Tampa Bay moves up.
I agree with you, Tampa Bay. The one that shocked me was your Steelers. As far as I know, there's no big injuries and no big trades on defense. So that's an awful big drop for a homer. I'll call you the Steelers homer.
Yeah, maybe I'm being the opposite of a homer and really can kind of judge them as hard as I can, hoping that maybe they perform. That's right. Yeah,
first psychology.
Yeah, right. So
I picked up the slack and picked Steelers for you. So
I appreciate that. We'll see though. Who knows?
Right. Rookies. This was an interesting one. This moved a little here. Do you want to go first?
Sure, I'll go first. I know you're pretty high on Justin Fields. You have him in your top 15. I think they're going to ride with Andy Dalton a little bit, and so Fields actually moves out of my top 5 just because they haven't said it's going to be Dalton, but it sounds like that. Now who knows? So I got Fields moving out. I have Pitts taking the number 1 spot over Jamar Chase. I have Trey Lance moving into the top 5 for rookies. I think his upside is incredible. He kind of sounds like a poor man's Pat Mahomes, and that's a pretty good comparison to have. So Jamar Chase moves down a little bit. He's had some drop issues in the preseason. I still think talent-wise he's there. And Joe Burrow's, they were LSU teammates. So I think that, they'll have that connection as long as he can, actually squeeze the ball. Trevor Lawrence, who I'm very high on, have him moving down a little bit to number 4. And again, I think it's just the talent around Trevor Lawrence. I don't think it's actually Trevor Lawrence. I just don't think he's got, the offensive line is kind of mediocre. He's kind of on the run. That preseason game against the Saints, they really pressured him a lot and kind of, banged him up a little bit and hit him. So he moves down just a little bit just because of the surrounding cast. And Najee Harris stays at number 5. But so I guess the big move is Kyle Pitts. I mean, he sounds like the real deal. And just all of his numbers at the combine jump off the charts. And watching him at Florida, he was, a freak athlete. So I think he's going to have a huge year. And I think Trey Lance I think they maybe go Garoppolo, but they have Trey Lance playing a little bit. I think it's going to be this weird kind of situation where they have Trey Lance coming in more than you would think. And then obviously Jamar and Trevor Lawrence kind of dropping a little bit.
Yeah, I think Trey Lance is going to surprise you. He's going to start earlier than you think. It's probably going to be because of an injury to Garoppolo. I think San Francisco is going to rule the day that they decline to trade them to the Patriots. Yeah. They've gotten at least a second round pick, and they're never going to use him. Yeah, I'm not really sure how he's there. I guess you need that veteran backup, but still, he's looked good. And so I agree with you.
It's big contract for a backup.
Right.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And they'll probably look to trade him too, but they're not going to get anything near that, especially with the contract attached to it.
No, I agree. Yeah. I mean, I think right now, like you said, they'll be lucky to get maybe a 3rd or a 4th right now when they could have had a 2nd from New England.
Now, on my side, huge drop. My number 1, which is Trevor Lawrence for rookies, is not even in my top 5 anymore. It's dropped right out. And that's because of what I mentioned up top when they have him ranked number 15 overall for quarterbacks. I just don't think he's got a team to do it. I think he'll show some flashes, but he just doesn't have the team. And I actually went with Harris, which is kind of a surprise. I don't love Pittsburgh's offensive line. But the thing about Harris is he's looked good in the preseason, even with that offensive line. So if they can shore that up or play a little better, I think he's going to have some breakout numbers. I agree that Pitts just moved him to number 2 because I think he's going to have a huge year. And so he went from 4 to 2. Harris went from, where did Harris go? From 3 to 1. Chase, I have him in the middle of the pack, basically. He's had a lot of drops, and that does bother me, but I'm just hoping that they work on that and he gets that cleaned up before the season starts.
Yeah.
We hope. Smith, same reasons. Looks like a great wide receiver coming in. And I rounded it up by sliding Javonte Williams in as which kind of bums me out because I'm protecting Gordon in a couple of leagues, but it bums me out, but I do think he's going to take over the workload on that team eventually.
Yeah, it does sound that way. They have so many running backs on that depth chart. I think Williams will win it, but I feel like he's, they're going to give useless carries to, like you said, Melvin Gordon and even a few others on that depth chart. So what do you think about, so you like Devontae Smith? Do you think 175-pound frame can hold up in the NFL? That's my only concern with him. I think he's a free talent, and I think he's poised to have a big year. But I get a little nervous with just that figure.
Hopefully, he's fast enough to run away.
Yeah, or like Lamar Jackson, slippery enough where he doesn't get hit.
Right, exactly. Hey, welcome in, TJ. Thanks for joining us. Okay, so we're going to show you, just to give people an example of the drafts we're in, just so everyone knows, a in-depth review on these players is in our previous rankings. And I will put a link on this to connect this one with that one. This is the updated one. But this is a type of league we're in, though. This is a league right now that we are – this one started Friday, right? Yeah. We had one that started Saturday. And you can see how many picks have already been made. The blue are running backs. The orange is tight ends. Your green is – no, you can't even read that. Green is
I guess with wide receiver. Yeah.
Wide receivers, yeah. And your red is quarterbacks. And you can see a trend here. I'm not saying every league's this way, but both of the leagues that we've started so far have been – I can't believe how strong – running back it is. And technically this one here, SOMF, that's my team. So since I picked last, I got back-to-back picks. So you could put Mixon up there and call that an all 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 of those picks are running backs, which really drains a running back thing. And then you get a run second round of a little bit on wide receivers. But it's interesting just seeing the pattern on these. Both of the leagues are following the same pattern so far, even though the other league is only into, I think, the second round at this point, third round.
Yeah, very running back heavy for sure early on.
So in my quick outline of I wanted to get a top receiver and running back, and you can see the running backs that were taken. I think this was the next one in line, so I took those two. Third round, I need to get a quarterback, and this was the best one available. I wanted another. There was a couple still top starting running backs. So I went with Carson, and you can see here I just realized I'm on the clock here for the next two picks. So as soon as we're done this, I'll be doing research for those two picks. And over here, you've got Brandon, which is right.
Yeah, right
there.
To the left.
He took over his wife's team. So this is his team this year. And you want to just talk about a little bit why you went with this?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I like to think that I kind of look like a dancing hippo. And so I mean, I took best value at number 4 with Alvin Kamara. I think, with Jameis kind of getting the starting spot, I was a little nervous if Taysom Hill got it, because I feel like teams would stack the box a little bit more. I think we all know that Jameis can air it out. Now, does he air it out to his team or the other team? Who knows? But I don't think they'll stack the box as much with Jameis getting the start. So I went Alvin Kamara there. And then I took I'm a big believer of kind of taking the best available and then kind of trying to shift your team from there. So I think DeAndre Hopkins is going to have just a massive year. I think Kyler Murray is going to take another step. I know there's a couple other mouths to feed on that wide receiving crew. I just think DeAndre Hopkins is too legit. And actually, my wife took this pick. I was actually in a golf tournament. And so I gave her a few names to choose from and let her do her thing. Actually, she's got Darren Waller in one of her leagues as well. And so she's protecting Darren Waller in an auction league. So I think she went with the familiar face there. Not a bad pick whatsoever. I think he's going to get just a ton of targets.
Well, full disclosure, too, of the 3 picks, that was one, and Dobbins was another who's out there.
Okay, so that's very true. So it was Keenan Allen, Darren Waller, or J.K. Dobbins that I gave her as the names, and so she made the right pick there. And you can see that. Actually, it looks like Keenan Allen's.
Someone took Dobbins too.
And it looks like Keenan Allen stayed on the board for a little while longer. I'm trying to see how Keenan Allen was. So he was drafted right. He was drafted right after. So we went AJ Brown, then Keenan Allen. Yeah. So right, because it would have went. So maybe he was drafted before. So he was drafted before.
Right. So
Darren Waller, I think that's a great dodge that J.K. Dobbins injury for sure. So that's a great pick by her. And then so in this league, it's one of those leagues where you don't actually your roster is kind of set, and there's not a whole lot of dropping and picking up, and so it's not a best ball league, but the roster spot, I think you can roster up like 22 players or something crazy like that. So all of a sudden once quarterbacks start to go, there's a good chance that you kind of get screwed quarterback wise. So I took the best quarterback available, which happened to be Matt Stafford. Actually, I think Matt Stafford's in for a big year, being paired up with Sean McVay. Went Matt Stafford, and then kind of all the way on the swing back, I wanted DeAndre Swift, who happened, as you can see, get drafted the pick before. And then I took the kind of the next best running back, especially if something happens with Chubb. I know you're a big fan of Kareem Hunt yourself, and so ended up going Kareem Hunt there. And so I feel like, solid quarterback, solid tight end, really, really stellar wide receiver, Kamara's stud running back, and then who knows with Kareem Hunt. I think he'll still get touches obviously with Nick Chubb there, but kind of hoping for maybe a little Chubb injury here or there, and hope that Kareem Hunt kind of becomes the guy. But
right, and this is a very busy week. We had to put in by midnight tonight. I think we have to put in our money protects on the auction league for players. You can protect. Each player has a value, and you protect them at that value. or you go into the auction starting this week. And the other one's a Serpentine. For the first time, we're going away from a online draft to a live draft. It is online, but it is all in one day.
Saturday, right?
That one's Saturday, and then there's one through. There's another one with some YouTube people on Sunday. No, I think it's the other way around. The YouTube one's on Saturday.
And
the other one's on Sunday.
Okay.
I think.
So, yeah, no.
I'll have to get it straight. Check the times when we get up.
I'll be at one of those. Hopefully, it's the right one.
That's right. So that's it. We thought maybe it'd be interesting seeing how some of these fantasy leagues work. Anything else you'd like to say? I think we've covered our update.
Yeah, no, I think it's going to be a great season. It's unfortunate that there's been a few injuries, J.K. Dobbins, and I'm trying to think if there's been any other big injuries. Dak's been kind of nursing one, but
no big ones this week. There's a bunch of games going on this weekend.
Right. So, yeah. So, but I think it's going to be a great season. I'm looking forward to it. So I appreciate you having me on here again.
And thank you for joining me. We're going to watch the Pats game tonight. Curious to see who he sticks in that first set of downs.
Yeah. Well, I guess while I have you on air, who's going to win that? Who's winning that job? I think I asked you last week or last time, and I think you went Cam. Or you
Cam all the way. Yeah. And not that he deserves it, but he's going to get the nod for at least one or two games.
Yeah.
You feel the same way?
I do. I think Belichick's going to really try to make that work. And once you go Mac Jones, I don't think you can go back. And I think so. I think he's going to kind of have Cam couple at least a few weeks for sure. And then we'll see. But Max looked good.
He looks real good.
Cam has looked probably the best he's looked in a Patriots uniform as well too. So
yeah. But I guess that first practice back with Cam, I guess Jones looked really good that one too, from what I understand. So we'll see. Journey Waste, thank you for popping in. And we are concluding our fantasy football player ranking update.
Love it.
So,
yeah.
So thank you for joining us, everyone.
Yeah, and I guess in the true fashion of man, stay young and have fun, right?
That's right. Very well put.
Yeah.